Stretching from the Austrian border to Würzburg, Germany's Romantische Straße, or the Romantic Road, attracts visitors from everywhere. This centuries-old trade route still preserves the charm and coziness of medieval villages. And Würzburg, smack in the heart of the Franconian wine region, boasts one of Germany's most spectacular Baroque palaces. Picture a backdrop to Hansel and Gretel or any other fairy tale by the Brothers Grimm, and you're almost here. Villages along the Romantic Road radiate a blend of art, history, magical forests, and, of course, a little romance. We're going to start our journey by exploring the Gothic and Baroque treasures of Würzburg. Then we'll travel down the Romantic Road and visit the spa town of Bad Merkendheim, the Gothic wonderland of Dinkelsbühl, and end our trip in the best-preserved medieval town in Germany, Rothenburg ob der Tauber. The car offers great flexibility for exploring the Romantic Road, but bus tours are a great way to see the towns and villages along the way as well. You can get off at any stop, spend a few hours or a few days, and get on the next bus that comes through. A local rail line connects all the major towns along the Romantic Road, and taking the train is an easy and fun way to get around. We begin our exploration at the northern end of the Romantic Road in Würzburg. This is the heart of the Franconian wine-growing region, and the city's 26,000 university students give Würzburg a youthful exuberance. Just before the end of World War II, Allied bombing raids destroyed the city, but an ambitious restoration program has rebuilt every major historic structure. Taking over 20 years to restore was the Dome, or Cathedral of St. Kilian, in the center of the city. Originally constructed in 1045, it's the fourth largest Romanesque church in Germany.
When they had to rebuild the church, they agreed immediately that they would rebuild it as a Romanesque church the way it was always been before, from outside. From inside, they compromised. They said what's still standing, the transept, the choir, the left side nave, they left all that with the Baroque decorations. And what they had to rebuild, the main nave and the other side nave, they rebuilt it in Romanesque style with a flat wooden ceiling, round arched windows. And for that reason, our cathedral, at first glimpse, looks kind of strange when you get in here.
Throughout the Dome, you'll find sculptures by Tilman Riemenschneider, Germany's greatest Gothic sculptor. Even though he knew and was influenced by the Italian Renaissance, his work displays a level of detail and realism that remain distinctly German Gothic in character. One of the sculptures is of St. Kilian, an Irish missionary who came to Würzburg in 686 to convert the locals to Christianity. He then told the Duke that his marriage to his brother's widow was unlawful. The Duchess was furious, and she had Kilian killed when the Duke was away. But things didn't work out for her. The Duchess went insane, and Kilian became the patron saint of Würzburg. Here in the garden next to St. Kilian's lies the grave of Walther von der Vogelweide, one of Germany's most famous Minnesängers. I sat upon a stone, covered one leg with the other, and set my elbow on them. Thus begins one of Walther's most famous songs. A Minnesänger is the medieval version of a singer-songwriter and literally means singer of love songs. In the early 13th century, Walther composed songs and poetry of love, as well as political satire for the court of Frederick II. Walther von der Vogelweide represents the beginning of a Germanic musical tradition that includes Handel, Bach, Beethoven, Brahms, and Wagner. Würzburg celebrates that tradition with its famous Mozart Festival every June. Würzburg is not only famous for music and martyrs, it's famous for wine. Very nice. And what better way to sample that wine than at one of the city's many festivals?
My favorite wine is Rudy. It's a rosé wine. Is it good?
And yes, it's very good. It's a little bit fruity and it's a little bit sweet, but not too sweet.
If you think German food is only about sausage, then you're in for a surprise. Well, it's Pfifferling season here, which is to say mushroom season, so I guess I got to order frische Pfifferlinge, fresh mushrooms. It comes in Rahm mit Semmelkloss. I have no idea what Semmelkloss is, but I'm about to find out, I think. Tag frische Pfifferlinge? Was ist Semmelkloss?
It's a potato dumpling.
A potato dumpling. Thank goodness you speak English.
In Würzburg we have many wine feasts.
I like Würzburg.
Every year.
Perhaps the most stunning building in Würzburg is the bishop's residence. Built for Prince Bishop Johann Philipp Franz von Schönborn, the residence showcases two of the titans of Baroque art. The architect and engineer Balthasar Neumann is considered the greatest German architect in the late Baroque style. While teaching architecture at the University of Würzburg, he worked on the bishop residence for more than 25 years. Neumann's structures are noted for their unity of design, technical virtuosity, lightness, and grace. At the center is the masterful Treppenhaus, or staircase. Unlike earlier buildings, this one was designed by Neumann with an eye for the paintings that would later decorate it. You know, not every fresco on every ceiling in Europe is perfect. The artist who painted this one was fired by the Prince Bishop afterwards because it was such a disaster. Father Time's wings are on backwards. He's holding his scythe upside down. The woman next to him has a mustache. There are about 140 characters in this fresco. Unfortunately, the painter only knew how to paint about 11 different faces. Here in the Kaisersaal, or the bishop's dining room, the Venetian master of high Baroque illusionism, Giovanni Battista Tiepolo, painted his masterpiece. No longer restricted to religious subjects, the artist painted the betrothal of Beatrice of Burgundy to the Emperor Frederick Barbarossa. Dressed in 16th century finery, Beatrice is led by Apollo to the emperor. Winged putti add whimsy to a scene that seems to extend into the heavens. About 38 kilometers south of Würzburg is Bad Mergentheim. In Germany, when a town is called Bad, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. It simply means bath, or more precisely, it means the town has a spa. You know, no matter how wonderful the cathedral or museum, if you don't take a break, you're likely to burn out. Luckily for us, Germans love bike riding. They have one of the most extensive bike trail systems in Europe and more than 3,300 bed and bike lodges across the country. To haul your bike, you can get a special bike and rail pass for the train. Don't have a bike? No problem. Just rent one at the train station, as I did today, and enjoy your afternoon. Renting a bike is an easy and fun way to get around, and our next stop is in the heart of Bad Mergentheim, the Deutscherden Museum. This Renaissance castle was the last home of the Teutonic Knights, and now it houses a museum dedicated to their memory. There's been a castle here in Bad Mergentheim since 1219, but it was in 1525 that this castle became the residence of the Masters of the Teutonic Order. The order was established during the Third Crusade to run field hospitals for wounded German knights. It became a full military order in 1198. Like their brethren, the Hospitallers and the Templars, the Teutonic Knights took strict monastic vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience. They were men of God, but they lived by the sword. Through most of their history, they seem more concerned with advancing German territorial ambitions than advancing the Word of God, and actually controlled and ruled much of Prussia and conquered Latvia, Estonia, and Lithuania. Although somewhat smaller, the order is still active today. It's devoted to religious and charity work, and in fulfillment of their original mission, the order performs ambulance service in the time of war. If you're looking for a museum with a bit more horsepower, then venture just a little way into the countryside and visit the beautiful Renaissance castle of Prince Hohenlohe-Langenburg and his Deutsches Auto Museum. The museum was co-founded with Richard von Frankenberg, the winner of the 1955 Le Mans auto race.
Bitte. Now, ist es ein Schnellauto?
Das ist ein schnelles Auto.
Sehr schnell.
There are plenty of classically restored Daimlers, Volkswagens, MGs, and more than 100 years of European auto history. If some of the towns along the Romantic Road remind you of the past, when you visit Dinkelsbühl in July, you may think you've stepped into the past.
To the children of Dinkelsbühl, July means it's time for Die Kinderzecke, or their very own children's festival. The celebration honors an event that occurred more than 400 years ago, the day the children saved the town. It was in the spring of 1632, and Europe was engulfed in the religious conflict known as the 30 Years' War. The Swedish army of Gustav II was triumphantly marching across southern Germany, laying siege and destroying every town in its path. The citizens of Dinkelsbühl, both Catholic and Protestant, held out as long as they could. But resistance was futile. And they knew when the town was surrounded, it would be ransacked. Just as the town council decided to surrender, Kinderlohr, the watchman's daughter, confronted the Swedish colonel Klaus Dietrich von Sperreuth with a crowd of singing children. The colonel, who had lost his own son just weeks before, was so moved by the children that he spared the town, or so local legend has it. The town celebrates its deliverance every July with a festival, a reenactment of the surrender, children singing and dancing. For more than 100 years, the modern-day descendants of the siege of Dinkelsbühl have reenacted the more festive aspects of this historic, or some say, legendary event. Just outside the town wall is a reenactment of the Swedish camp, where visitors can get a glimpse of what life must have been like for a 17th century soldier and his family. The entire population gets into the celebration with authentic music, costumes, food, and games. Each citizen has a role to play and must look the part. If your impression of Gothic is overpowering cathedrals, gargoyles, and suffering saints, then Dinkelsbühl will be a delight. The pleasant medieval Gothic houses and storybook scenes are right out of a child's fairy tale. It's hard to look at these houses without thinking of Hansel and Gretel, the brave little tailor, or Little Red Riding Hood. The brothers Jacob and Wilhelm Grimm were law students in 1806 when they began to collect folk tales. Determined to preserve German folk culture, they published a small book called Children and Household Tales in the year 1812, with many more editions to follow. Originally intended for scholars, their stories became popular worldwide, and today the stories are known collectively as Grimm's Fairy Tales.
If you have time for only one place along the Romantic Road, make it Rothenburg. Unlike many larger cities and towns in Germany, Rothenburg was only partially bombed during the Second World War. As a result of an ambitious rebuilding program, it's the country's best preserved medieval walled town.
This makes it a favorite destination for tourists, and it can get quite crowded during the summer. But the tour buses leave during the evening, making this the perfect location for us to stay. We've explored the surrounding country by day, and now we can enjoy Rothenburg in the evening. We're staying at the Eisenhut, or the Iron Helmet. Consisting of 4 medieval houses joined together, it's one of the most celebrated inns on the Romantic Road and one of the coziest small hotels in Germany. There's been a settlement here since about 500 BC, but Rothenburg didn't really come into its own until the Holy Roman Emperor Rudolf I chartered it as a free imperial city in 1274. Rothenburg became a prosperous trading center and one of the leading cities in southern Germany. Many of the buildings we see today are from this period, such as Rothenburg's town hall, the Rathaus. The older Gothic section on the left dates from 1240. The Church of St. Jacob was begun in 1336 and houses the wooden altar of the Last Supper by the artist we first saw in Würzburg, Tilman Riemenschneider. The intricate details and the elegant drapery of the figures firmly establish Riemenschneider as a master of Gothic sculpture. The evening is the perfect time to take a guided tour with Rothenburg's own night watchman.
All right, let's have another stop after this long walk. My name is George, night watchman here, the only one. And I want to tell you something about the duties a night watchman had back in the Middle Ages. It was a bad job, a low job, because people were superstitious in the Middle Ages and they feared the night. They believed in ghosts and all kinds of scary things going on in the nighttime. And the watchman's main duty was to guard the city at night like police. And that was dangerous because all the good people were at home at night.
During the Reformation, the citizens of Rothenburg became Protestants. In 1631, during the 30 Years' War, forces of the Catholic League besieged the city. General Tilly, commander of the besieging army, offered to spare Rothenburg if anyone could drink from a huge 3.5-liter tankard of wine in one draft. No one in town could meet the challenge till Burgermeister Nusch stepped up to the task, or rather the tankard, and saved the town. The town was saved, but its importance and prosperity declined until German Romantic painters discovered its medieval charms and flocked here during the 19th century. Ever since, Rothenburg has been a mecca for tourists and latter-day romantics.
To get a sense of this medieval town, take a walk around the walls that surrounded it in the 13th century. Today, the wall still protects the town from the encroachment of modern life and industry.
Many of the towers are still standing, such as the White Tower, the Gallows Gate, the site of public executions, and the Roder Gate. The Bird Gate features a mask through which defenders would pour hot tar on their attackers. Just beyond the gate is the much more inviting Burggarten. Once the site of an imperial castle destroyed in a 1356 earthquake, The garden now offers a refuge for both the town's citizens and tourists. In the center of town, between the Church of St. Jacob and the Rathaus, is the aptly named Marktplatz. If you need a cuckoo clock or a 3.5-liter wine tankard, this is the place to shop. But the most magical time for the Marktplatz is Christmas. During December, the square is transformed into the Reiterlesmarkt, or Christmas market. If you can't make it in December, you can still find plenty of Christmas all year round at the Weihnachtsdorf, or Christmas village. The museum upstairs shows that many Christmas traditions, from Santa Claus to Christmas trees, originated here in Germany.
This is our Weihnachtsmann. It's kind of Santa Claus, because the Santa Claus you know started in Germany, and he looks like a little bit more grim.
Yes, yours does look unhappy. Someone's been naughty and not nice.
Right.
Be prepared to get into the holiday spirit, because Rothenburg is ready for Christmas any time of the year.
Oh, look at the angel. Isn't that cute?
When most people think about Germany, they think about beer. But the citizens of Rothenburg are more likely to pick up a wine glass than a beer stein.
If a visitor comes here, what is the typical wine they should ask for?
The typical wine is the white wine in the typical bottle from Franken, and the bottle has a name. The name is Boxbeutel. And these wines are dry to medium dry.
Above the clock wine cellar is an excellent restaurant. And what do you suppose they serve with a dry white wine?
So this is a fish from the North Sea. It doesn't look like bratwurst.
Yes, you're following the typical German image. The image is Germans are eating bratwurst and sauerkraut all the day. And we want to show that this is quite different. We have the light menus, we have the very good quality of fish here in Germany, and we like that.
Enjoy the end of the day on the romantic road with a glass of dry wine, good food, and new friends. Whether you're drawn to the excitement of the past, the joys of childhood, or classic wine and classic cars, the romantic road is true to its name.
The moon is out, our wine glass is full, and there's a feel of intrigue in the air. After all, we're on Germany's romantic road. Till next time, I'm Rudy Maxa. Good night.